Hello. Welcome back to my channel, Reality TV Africa, guys. How you doing? Today, riding solo, but we're still gonna have a good time. Over here we love reality TV. Okay, and we're gonna be reviewing Mommy Club. The latest episode of Mommy Club, and it was an okay episode. Let me just say, because I like rating my episode before I start my review. I'm going to give it 7. I mean, it was just okay. Nothing profound happened. It was just, the mummies going about their lives. And anyway, let me just start, because how I like to do it is go through scene by scene and tell you what stood out to me in each scene. So I guess the episode started off with Happy taking her girls to the car shop, and more specifically Titi, to see a car and maybe possibly get her a car. Now, for me, I felt like Happy is back to her cycle of placating Titi. And you see, this is a very dangerous place to be with your child, because if you remember last season, and I know I like referring to something that previously happened. Last season, they were not in the best place. And I'm happy even mentioned it in this scene. And she's happy with where they're at now in their relationship. But truth be told, even then when they were not in a good place, Happy had the habit of placating her with gifts. We saw Happy take them to the mall, and they went and bought, designer stuff. So for me, not sure if this is the direction to go now that they're in a good place. I think they need that balance of mother-daughter, mother being the adult and daughter being the child. Because if you remember, even that there's an episode last season when Titi accused Happy of behaving like a child, and it felt to me like Titi doesn't see her mom as an adult or as someone of authority. You know what I'm saying? There's bloodlines in terms of their dynamic, but this is just my observation. It's what I see as a viewer of the show, and it's not a hit at Happy's parenting style, but I don't really agree with her buying her such a luxurious car, and at this time in her life, she's quite young. You know what I'm saying? She's a teenager. Maybe at 21, when she's proven to be more responsible and is probably maybe in her first job and able to sustain the car and things like that. But I'm not a parent, so this is my opinion. Then we see Barbara, and Barbara is clearly the main storyline of the entire season for all the ladies, if you ask me. Yeah, we see Barbara go visit Ratile, and I mean, even when I watch this scene, okay, in scene like Barbara, when she was seated down with Ratile, she seems to be okay taking back her job and okay getting back into employment in Ratile's home. And then in the confessionals, she's like, I'm not going back. Okay, I get it. The confessionals are shot a bit after, but not so far after. So she's contradicting herself. Well, I can see where she's coming from in terms of thinking about taking her job back. I mean, money-wise, she's not employed. She needs money. But what stood out to me, and it's interesting that even as the episode played on, I was asking myself, how is she going to keep this job when Ratile sees all the stuff she said to Happy? And actually, Happy said this when her nanny told her that Barbara has gone back to Ratile and has taken a job back. And Happy asked herself and asked her nanny, how is Ratile gonna do? Is she gonna have her job after Ratile sees what she's been saying and all the tea she's been spilling? I also ask myself the same exact question, and I actually wonder, is she currently in Ratile's employment? It will be interesting to see, because if I were her boss, I would not be happy with what she's saying, true or not, you know. Anyways, yeah. Furthermore, the way Barbara described, you know, like Ratile's husband and how things played out, you know, I wouldn't want to go back to such an environment. I would probably speak to my nannies and get a referral and get another job, probably. But I guess and I hope that also Barbara is getting paid well. I don't know, are the nannies paid to be on the show as like cast? I'm hoping they also get a stipend of some sort. And this publicity is definitely also, maybe, I don't know if it's gonna work in her favor, considering how she's talking about her former turned current employer. I don't know if anyone would want to hire someone like that, who is publicly out speaking, be it her truth, negatively about her employer. I don't know. And then we see Mrs. Mops take her nanny, Miss Manshi, for a driving class. Now, I just asked myself, and guys, I'm not trying to be shady, I'm just asking myself, if Mrs. Mops was not on a show, would she take Miss Manshi for a driving class? Or was it, you know, and this is the thing I'm starting to realize, and a couple of Mrs. Mops's castmates are also calling her out on the fact that she does things strategically and calculatively, like the scene where she had a conversation with Mrs. Sunday about her finances and auctioning, and we'll get to that. But yeah, it just begs the question, how natural is that? Would you take your nanny for a driving class if there was no show, if there was no cameras? Because you've been with her for quite a long time. That could have happened already, but you chose to do it now when there's cameras on a show. So, I don't know, but it was still nice to watch and nice to see how Mrs. Mops is actually empowering her nanny. And then, like I mentioned in my last review with my chummy, who wasn't able to make it today, but it's fine, we'll catch up on our next review. But if you watched our recap last week, I kind of mentioned that Miss Manshi the nanny and Mrs. Mops mirror each other, in the sense that Manshi is like the head nanny, and she actually says it, I'm the boss of the ladies. And that's how it felt even from season 1, like, because Mrs. Mops is like, so to speak, the most well-known personality. She's like the anchor of the show, and so Miss Manshi, being her nanny, is like the anchor of the nannies, so to speak, if I can just use that analogy. But yeah, I mean, she has a very big personality. She's outspoken. You can tell they have a good friendship with her boss, Mrs. Mops, and I like that. I like the relationship. It's nice. And obviously, I've come to learn from some of my friends and families who have nannies that when you treat your nanny well, your nanny treats your family and your kids well. So take care of them and they'll take care of you well. So yeah, I guess it's nice to see. Yeah, then we see Nozi and Nunurai meet up in the park. I didn't know they were that close neighbors. But yeah, Nozi mentions that her and Nunurai are neighbors, and so they met up in the park with their nannies and their little babies to catch up and let their kids play. And this scene was just for me, yeah, it was just there. I mean, we got to see, of course, Nunu Rai kind of be like a mouthpiece for Ratile and tell her, look, you pissed off my friend Ratile, and it's definitely gonna get addressed. And of course, she let her explain herself. And Nosy doesn't seem like the kind of person who's like backhanded or mean, but she obviously realized she had overstepped with Ratile, and yeah, definitely owes her a convo and an apology for that. Considering she's also experiencing some marital issues, I felt that that was kind of rich and a bit over the top for her to put her friend, not her friend, well, her acquaintance, Ratile, on blast like that. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just one of those things where she wants to deflect from her issues and then want people to talk about her issues and wanted the attention on Ratile rather than on herself. That was just what I felt. I also like that she mentioned she has a kids clothing line business, and for me, I feel like this platform, the Mommy Club Show, is perfect for her to catapult her business and, you know, shout about it, talk about it, get, you know, eyeballs on it. Because girl, if your marriage is falling apart, you are gonna need that coin, girl. And I like that Nunura is also all about the business and is also like, girl, get your money up, get your, talk about your business, talk that stuff so that people can buy your your baby clothes and get your money up. Why didn't you take advantage of such a situation, being on such a big platform, you know? Yeah, then we see Happy at home and chilling, reading a book, and of course she gets, her nanny comes and gives her some snacks, and Happy, being the happy that she is complaining, where's the plate got cheese, I need to take pictures for the gram. I mean, that's happy for you. I like that. Also, then they have the conversation about Barbara, and she tells her nanny tells Happy that Barbara has decided to go back to work for Ratile, and Happy asks what we've all been thinking. What will Ratile think when she hears everything that Barbara has said about her family, her husband? I mean, oof. One thing I forgot to mention is when Barbara was at Ratile's house, and of course Ratile went to pick the kids and told her they'll be so happy to see you. And they came home and they were so happy and they hugged Barbara. I could see a genuine love Barbara has for those kids. You could even see it in her eyes. I think she kind of teared up when she was in the confessional. You could see I had missed them, I had missed the kids. Yeah, you know, when you have kids in your life for 7 years, they're almost like your kids. So that's one thing I'll say. I mean, that was genuine. The fact that she loves Ratile's kids. It's rare. It's rare. Anyway, yeah. Barbara, are you still working for Ratile? I wonder. Yes. Then we see Mrs. Mops, and I think this season she's decided we're going to see a different side of her. We're going to see her real life as much as she'll allow. And we see her with her parents, and that was so cute. I mean, first of all, her parents are still together, and I like how she described the relationship like you're a teacher, you're in the taxi business. Her dad was in the taxi business, and the taxi business is rough. She kind of mentioned that it was violent, and contextually, even in Kenya, we call them matatus, and it's a very big industry. And of course, it's informal. It's not a formal. It's the informal sector, and it's very. I mean, it's got a lot of riffraffs, and you know, it's rough. So I don't know what Ratile, Mrs. Mops meant by violent, but obviously even in Kenya there's situations like carjackings and things like that in public transport. So I don't know if that's what you meant. I wanted to ask my chomi Mbui to explain that to me, because he's very good giving me that South African context that I may not be able to really articulate. But all the same, yeah, I mean, I understand when she says it's she said violent, yeah, violent, and of course she was grateful that her dad is still alive, considering he's been in that industry, which is, as she described, violent. And yeah, I mean, I liked the way her dad was raining blessings on her, and it was just nice and refreshing to see. And you could see she came up from a very pretty ordinary upbringing, and she did say that even back when she was in Real Housewives of Johannesburg, yes, she did say she grew up in, honestly, sorry guys, I forget the township she grew up in, but she said she is a township girl, and she she didn't grow up with a silver spoon in her mouth. So this Mrs. Mops that we're seeing, who's bougie, posh, put together, was not always like that. She came up from humble upbringings, and we could see it with her parents. It was very nice, refreshing to see, honestly. Yes, then we get to the final scene where we see Nunurai, Ratile, and Mrs. Sunday meet up for dinner and drinks, I guess, and of course to just catch up on everything. And Mrs. Sunday is basically telling them about how she was like, Mrs. Mops called me during the trip and sat with me and was telling me about her finances and the auctioning and everything that happened and the social media, and I mean, even Nunurai and Ratile were like, how convenient of her to have this conversation with Mrs. Sunday, who she barely knows and not a friend. And honestly, when I watched it last week, I was like, wow, Mrs. Mops is really opening up this season. But now that they say that she was using Mrs. Sunday to address the trolls, the online trolls, I mean, Mrs. Sunday isn't gonna question her much. She's not gonna ask too many questions. She's gonna sit there and listen. That's what Mrs. Mops wanted. She wanted someone to just give her the audience enough to get it all out, talk about it, and not, have too many questions. Because if it was someone like Happy, for example, Happy would be trying to pull the information out of her and more and more and more. If it was obviously Ratile and Nunurai, who she's not so tight with, I mean, it could have gone south. It could have been awkward. So I guess Mrs. Sunday was the perfect person, I guess. And yeah, interesting perspective. I actually didn't know. I didn't realize that. But what was very, and I call BS on it, was when even Mrs. Sunday had her opinions on Nosy, had her opinions on Happy, and she said as much in her confessionals. She feels like Happy is very messy. She feels like Nosy was very rude, mentioning what she did about Ratile and the husband. And she also questioned Mrs. Mops' intentions about, sitting down with her. So it was clear that the opinions of Nunurai and Ratile have obviously kind of painted a picture for her in her head of these other ladies, and there's clearly now a divide in the group. There's Nunurai, Ratile, and now Mrs. Sunday, and then there's Nozipo, Happy, and Mrs. Mops. So I mean, like I was sort of talking about the divide in the group, and it's obvious that when Nunurai was like, we don't want you to pick sides, we want you to get to know the ladies, don't inherit beefs. Guys, it's too late. You've already jaded her opinion of the other ladies, and she's already picked a side, and we're already well into the season for her not to have formed an opinion of the ladies. What I'm kind of gathering, and I think Bui mentioned it last week, he was like, she's kind of odd on screen. And what I'm picking up is she's not adjusted to being on screen and being on TV and being a reality personality. She's kind of awkward, but I don't know if she's gonna grow into it and get used to it. I don't know. Let's see. So far, she's just there. I don't know. She's got a bit of opinions in her confessionals, but I'm not seeing that personality come. You know, like the way Mrs. Mops walks into a room and you know she's there, or Nunura and her talks with her hands, and Ratile with her opinions and happy with the mess. She doesn't have that zhuzh yet. So let's see. Let's give her a chance. Let's see how it goes for her. This is her first season. Yeah, you never know. Maybe she'll come out of her shell. Okay guys, if you've made it to the end of my review, I have some tea for you. So thanks for sticking around. First things first, Mummy Club. Mummy Club is currently it's going to be franchised out to another city, and I want to tell you where. So, news just in, Mummy Club is coming to Johannesburg. So we're going to have a new set of mummies, a new set of glam hot mummies that we're going to meet, and I cannot wait. So we'll definitely be keeping up with that Mummy Club show when it drops. Possibly, yeah, it's going to drop this year for sure. Yeah, and we'll definitely be recapping it and reviewing it right here. So thanks for catching up with me on my review. Over here we love everything reality TV. Okay, so I'll see you next time for my next review. Bye.